点火！
China successfully launched its largest carrier rocket on Tuesday, carrying a new generation spacecraft.
Could China have just unveiled a technology so advanced it could reshape the global balance of power? For years, the world has watched China rise in the space race, rapidly closing the gap with NASA and SpaceX. But now, it seems they've crossed into uncharted territory, in what's being called a pivotal moment for human progress, or possibly the start of a far more dangerous era. China launched something on February 11, 2025, that has stunned experts around the globe. This wasn't just another space mission. It was a calculated move that sent shockwaves through aerospace and defense communities. The launch featured the Long March 8A, China's most powerful rocket to date. Engineered to carry multiple heavy payloads into low Earth orbit simultaneously, it signals a major evolution in China's technological capabilities. Almost instantly, comparisons were drawn to SpaceX's Starlink program, with many questioning whether China now poses a direct challenge to Elon Musk's satellite communications empire. But this was more than just a show of muscle. Each satellite deployed by the Long March 8A hinted at a deeper strategic objective. On the surface, China claimed it was boosting communications, environmental monitoring, and surveillance. Yet behind closed doors, intelligence analysts began to suspect that something far more sophisticated was at play. Were these satellites simply tools for civil development, or did they hide functions designed for strategic dominance? Soon after the launch, global intelligence agencies started analyzing data and satellite trajectories. Something didn't add up. The behavior of the new satellites suggested unexpected agility, maneuvers too precise and advanced for traditional systems. This led to speculation that China may have developed a breakthrough propulsion system, making their satellites not only faster and more efficient, but harder to track or intercept. Rumors swirled around their true capabilities. Some experts proposed that the satellites carried advanced AI systems capable of autonomous decision-making. Others raised the possibility of directed energy technologies, including space-based lasers intended for defense or even offense. If even a fraction of this speculation holds weight, then China may have deployed assets in space that could disable rival satellites or operate independently without human input, pushing the boundaries of space warfare. Adding to the growing concern were whispers of long-running Chinese research into space-based energy systems. Leaks suggested that the satellites might be experimental platforms for wireless energy transmission, an early step toward harvesting solar power from space and beaming it back to Earth. If successful, such a development wouldn't just impact the energy sector, it could realign global economic power by eliminating reliance on traditional fuel sources. Another layer of intrigue came from observations by aerospace specialists who believed the satellites might be part of a covert communication network, one specifically designed to be invisible to current detection systems. Such stealth networks would enable secure, untraceable communication worldwide, complicating efforts by other nations to monitor Chinese activities in real time. This kind of strategic edge could tip the scales in everything from military operations to global intelligence gathering. As global analysts tried to make sense of the launch, the geopolitical atmosphere shifted dramatically. The United States and its allies began issuing cautious public statements, demanding greater transparency from Beijing. But China offered little clarity, sticking to a vague narrative of peaceful advancement. Their ambiguity only intensified suspicions. Was this launch a genuine leap forward for scientific progress, or a covert escalation in technological warfare? The context of this leap makes it even more significant. China's path to space dominance has been decades in the making. What started with Soviet-backed rocket tests in the 1950s has evolved into one of the most robust and independently developed space programs in the world. Key milestones along the way, like the launch of Dongfang-Hong 1 in 1970, the successful Shenzhou 5 manned mission in 2003, and the construction of the Tiangong space station, have steadily built China's credibility as a major space power. Throughout this transformation, China has demonstrated a willingness to invest heavily in space technology that others deem too costly or risky. Their lunar landers, Mars rovers, and space station development have not only proven their technical capability, but also signaled an ambition that goes far beyond Earth's orbit. Now, with the launch of Long March 8A, it appears China has entered a new phase, one where military and economic objectives are merging with scientific exploration. Despite official reassurances, the world is watching closely. China's refusal to clarify the full extent of the satellite's purpose has done little to ease tensions. International observers are left to question whether the payload was truly for peaceful research, or if it's the first step in a more aggressive strategy to dominate space, not just as a domain of exploration, but as a battlefield for future conflicts. Regardless of the answers, one fact remains. The February 11th launch marked a turning point. China has signaled that it's no longer content to follow others in the race to space. It now intends to lead and possibly control its future trajectory. Whether that future brings new opportunities for collaboration or fuels a new era of competition will depend on how the rest of the world chooses to respond. As the implications of this launch unfold, the question lingers: what exactly is orbiting above us now, and are we ready for what comes next? The ambiguity surrounding China's February 2025 satellite launch allowed it to mask potential military objectives beneath a civilian facade. This calculated vagueness seemed no accident. It likely formed part of a broader strategic plan. As speculation mounted, the world found itself gripped by uncertainty. What initially appeared to be a routine technological advancement had swiftly evolved into a global enigma. Analysts and governments scrambled to understand whether China's intentions were transformative or threatening. Was this the beginning of a dramatic power shift, or was the world reacting out of fear of an unfamiliar competitor? While nations wrestled with the implications, one individual faced a direct and immediate challenge: Elon Musk. His Starlink satellite network, which had revolutionized global internet connectivity, suddenly faced a formidable rival. China's rapid deployment of its own satellite constellation posed a serious threat to Musk's dominance in orbital communications. Experts warned that China could match or even exceed Starlink's deployment rate, thanks to state-backed resources and an industrial policy geared toward high-speed expansion. This wasn't just commercial competition. It was a test of influence and technological leadership. Starlink's success had hinged on providing fast, reliable internet to remote corners of the globe. But with China entering the fray, Musk risked losing both market share and strategic leverage. The threat extended beyond profits. Control of orbital communications infrastructure could shape how information flows across borders, influence geopolitics, and even affect global security alliances. To counter China's push, Musk responded with urgency, unveiling plans for a new generation of Starlink satellites offering faster speeds, enhanced encryption, and lower latency. But with China undercutting prices and offering comparable services, especially to developing nations, the pressure was unlike anything SpaceX had faced before. Some experts viewed this escalating rivalry as a win for consumers, predicting that the competition would lower prices and improve services worldwide. Yet others saw a deeper concern. China's growing dominance in the satellite space could grant it influence over the global digital backbone. The fear was not merely about who could provide the best signal, but about who controlled the infrastructure through which modern society functions: communications, navigation, surveillance, and commerce. Musk, always vocal, began raising alarms about China's satellite program, urging Western nations to support private industry in the face of growing state-sponsored competition. Critics, however, questioned whether Musk's warnings stemmed from a genuine concern for global security or were simply a response to the looming threat to his empire. With Starlink under pressure, Musk began exploring bolder moves: new international partnerships, rapid innovation in satellite capabilities, and even accelerated plans for interplanetary expansion, hoping to position SpaceX in a domain beyond Earth's geopolitical reach. Whether these strategies would be enough to maintain Starlink's dominance remained uncertain. Meanwhile, military experts were becoming increasingly uneasy. What had been labeled a peaceful launch now looked suspiciously like a strategic maneuver. China's satellites were observed performing complex synchronized movements, suggestive of capabilities well beyond typical commercial hardware. These actions raised red flags. Was China covertly testing systems designed to disrupt or disable other nations' space assets? Such concerns weren't without precedent. In 2007, China destroyed one of its own satellites in a dramatic demonstration of anti-satellite technology. Now, experts feared that Beijing had refined these methods, possibly developing less destructive but more sophisticated ways to neutralize enemy satellites, including the use of robotic arms, jamming systems, or laser-based weaponry. Leaks from intelligence sources suggested China's satellites may be equipped with directed energy technologies capable of blinding surveillance systems or severing communications with surgical precision. The line between civilian and military functions had blurred, creating a space environment increasingly difficult to regulate or predict. Despite China's consistent insistence that its program serves peaceful and scientific purposes, the dual-use nature of space technology left many unconvinced. A single satellite could just as easily support internet access as it could provide targeting data in a conflict. As more nations took notice, space became a new arena for strategic competition. India, Russia, Japan, and NATO allies began accelerating their own space defense programs, responding not just to China's actions, but to the broader implications of orbital vulnerability. As the military tension built, another, more subtle dimension emerged: the economic implications of China's technological leap. Some analysts argued that China's goal was not just control over orbit, but influence over the very economic systems that depend on it. One area of focus was space-based solar power, orbital platforms capable of collecting solar energy and transmitting it wirelessly back to Earth. If realized, this could redefine the global energy market, challenging fossil fuel industries and potentially replacing terrestrial renewable efforts with space-driven alternatives. Such a shift would grant China massive influence over future energy supplies, creating a new source of geopolitical leverage. In parallel, China's satellite internet ambitions had clear diplomatic and economic aims. By offering low-cost, reliable internet to underserved regions, particularly in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, China could build powerful soft power alliances, gaining not only users but loyal political partners. With each satellite, China expanded its digital footprint, weaving itself deeper into the infrastructure of the modern world. These advancements also reverberated internally. The space race boosted China's domestic economy, fueling growth in artificial intelligence, robotics, aerospace manufacturing, and beyond. Millions of jobs were created, and entire industries reoriented themselves around this new national priority. The ripple effect gave China not only technological credibility, but also an economic advantage with long-term implications. Observers warned that such dominance could enable China to subtly influence or disrupt global systems. Whether through control of data flows, financial transaction routing, or navigational services, a comprehensive satellite network could be used as an invisible economic lever. Even short-term outages in satellite communication could trigger major instability in global trade and finance, giving China a powerful, if quiet, bargaining chip. Faced with this rising influence, many nations began to reconsider their own investments. European states launched new initiatives to maintain competitiveness, while neutral countries like Switzerland and Sweden increased space funding to avoid economic isolation. What was once a race between governments had become a high-stakes contest among global economic systems, reshaped and redefined by what orbit above. Despite the tensions, some experts saw hope in the competition. If managed wisely, China's rise could lead to a new era of innovation, pushing humanity deeper into space, accelerating clean energy development, and driving down the costs of access to the digital world. But if left unchecked, it could just as easily trigger instability, division, and conflict. The outcome remains uncertain and the stakes impossibly high. China's rapid rise in space technology is sparking global debate. Could its controversial advancements ultimately fuel worldwide prosperity, or is economic turbulence inevitable? As uncertainty mounts, global markets are watching China's expanding satellite capabilities with growing anxiety. Will its ambitious space projects usher in a more connected, cooperative era? Or will they entrench a new age of dependence and instability with China at the center? As analysts dissected China's satellite strategy, another consequence became clear. Its space achievements were quietly reshaping global power structures. Smaller nations, especially those in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, began gravitating toward China for partnerships. Drawn by lower costs, fewer restrictions, and generous infrastructure investments, they welcomed China's assistance in launching satellites, monitoring weather, and establishing advanced navigation systems. What appeared to be technological generosity began to resemble a calculated geopolitical move. Was this outreach truly altruistic? Or was it a strategic play to embed Chinese influence in the very fabric of other nations' infrastructure? Observers noted how China's space initiative smoothly extended the Belt and Road Initiative into orbit, offering satellite services as a new kind of diplomatic currency. This allowed Beijing to foster influence far beyond the reach of traditional diplomacy. However, Western governments voiced concern. Intelligence agencies warned that some Chinese-built satellites might contain covert communication channels, granting Beijing the ability to surveil or even manipulate the systems of its partners. Were these nations unwittingly trading their sovereignty for access to affordable space tech? China's mastery of space wasn't just about hardware, it was a powerful soft power tool. With missions to the Moon and Mars, China projected an image of futuristic innovation, one that appealed to countries weary of being lectured by the West. By cultivating admiration through technological success, Beijing subtly challenged America's cultural dominance. The narrative began to shift. China was no longer a follower, it was becoming the leader. This growing influence sent shockwaves through Washington, Brussels, and Tokyo. In response, the United States ramped up its own space alliances, while NATO reconsidered its approach to orbital strategy. But even as the West scrambled to offer alternative partnerships, China's appeal continued to grow. Many developing countries, feeling neglected by traditional powers, embraced Beijing's hands-on, results-driven strategy, even if it came with unspoken risks. As China's grip on space tightened, one figure emerged as the West's best hope to counterbalance Beijing's ambitions: Elon Musk. At the helm of SpaceX, Musk quietly recognized the scale of the threat. Publicly diplomatic, privately he pushed SpaceX into overdrive. Starlink became a central focus, with accelerated deployments and new technologies designed to maintain a decisive edge in satellite internet coverage. To neutralize China's energy and manufacturing ambitions, Musk fast-tracked projects such as orbital solar power systems and in-space production platforms. These initiatives aim to ensure the U.S. wouldn't fall behind in the next generation of critical infrastructure. At the same time, Musk fostered deeper collaborations with NASA, the European Space Agency, and private players worldwide. This wasn't just a technological race, it was a strategic alliance-building campaign to keep China from dominating the future. Musk also understood that public perception was key. Through bold messaging and social media campaigns, he turned SpaceX into a symbol of Western innovation and hope. By framing the space race as a defining moment for humanity, he inspired millions and reframed the narrative, not just as a competition, but as a battle for the future. The excitement translated into global momentum and renewed trust in Western capabilities. Results followed quickly. SpaceX ramped up launch frequency, unveiled breakthroughs in propulsion and satellite design, and demonstrated innovations once thought decades away. The aim was clear: to outpace China's advances so dramatically that countries would hesitate to place their futures in Beijing's hands. Still, while SpaceX surged forward, China's ambitions only grew bolder. Beijing revealed a sweeping vision that extended far beyond satellites. A proposed orbital Silk Road would link networks of satellites, orbital energy platforms, and manufacturing stations. This system promised to integrate communications, surveillance, and industrial capabilities in space, effectively making China the central hub of orbital infrastructure. Could this plan shift economic power so profoundly that the rest of the world would have no choice but to follow Beijing's lead? Among China's boldest projects was an orbital solar power station, designed to beam clean energy back to Earth via advanced microwave transmission. Once dismissed as science fiction, it now seemed within reach. But with such technology came deeper questions. Could this massive energy network also serve as a tool for surveillance, or even as a weapon? Meanwhile, China pushed ahead with plans for permanent moon bases, exploring helium-3 mining as a potential game-changer for nuclear fusion. The moon, once a symbol of exploration, was now a strategic asset. And with Mars colonization also on Beijing's timeline, concerns grew that China might assert dominance beyond Earth, regardless of international law. Orbital manufacturing was next, with China planning to build in-space factories capable of producing advanced materials and pharmaceuticals not possible on Earth. The economic implications were staggering. Such infrastructure could shift global industry away from traditional manufacturing hubs and into orbit under China's control. The world now faces a stark choice: collaborate with a rising space power whose intentions remain unclear, or compete fiercely to maintain balance in an increasingly multipolar space era. China's strategy is no longer theoretical. It's already changing alliances, economies, and the rules of global engagement. Are we entering a new age of cooperative progress, or a high-stakes rivalry that will redefine power itself? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our next video.